What I'm hearing the holdup is that rumored allegedly from what I'm hearing is that they're trying to get Andre Ward on the undercard against a known or known name opponent. And we're talking about on the undercard of Cotto versus Canelo, which is going to be happening in November this year. I am T Street Controversy. This is T Street Controversy Live, and I cover every single major fight live. So we know that the fight is happening. We know that there, or you should know, or if you don't, that there is an issue involving the rematch clause. We know the fight's going to take place at 155 pounds. We know that Cotto is a side. It is Cotto versus Canelo. Sometimes I feel the need to correct people when they put Canelo versus Cotto. Cotto is the WBC 160-pound champion of the world, fighting below the 154-pound limit, junior middleweight. And right now, Gennady Golovkin, or the winner of David Lemieux versus Gennady Golovkin, will be one step closer to unifying or becoming the undisputed champion of 160 pounds. So let me put it this way. You know, in October, we got Golovkin versus Lemieux. Golovkin is the WBA Super World, the IBO, and the WBC Interim Champion. Mandatory #1 contender for Miguel Cotto's 160-pound title. You got David Lemieux, who's the IBF champion. So the winner of Golovkin versus Lemieux will be the WBA Super World, WBC Interim, IBO, and IBF champion. Then the winner of Cotto versus Canelo is mandatory, must fight Golovkin. Now Golovkin is being paid or has been paid some type of step aside money, but here's the thing. How would a rematch clause between Cotto versus Canelo play into Golovkin being the mandatory? So in a way, we got like a little bit of a tournament going on to the point where if Cotto beats Canelo, we're going to find out exactly what type of fighter Cotto is as far as his legacy is concerned. Because if he beats Canelo and then goes on to fight and or beat Golovkin or Lemieux, then that's nothing fans, you know, whatever he wears, you know, when it comes to the pink Crocs, whatever, you know, he's a little metro uber sexual, a little, you know, on the feminine side, you won't be able to say nothing about his boxing legacy if he does that. So right now, it's all about who do you think is going to win. Me, I look at Cotto's face, and I'm thinking to myself, Cotto fighting Canelo is going to have to do a lot of moving. I'm thinking, how will Cotto's face hold up? How will that scar tissue hold up, you know, to those straights of Canelo? And Canelo, you know, sits on his punches. Canelo may fight and throw punches in burst, but he sits on his punches to the point where I'm thinking to myself, you know, this is truly a 50-50 fight. In my opinion, Cotto is the better overall boxer. And if I was to look at, you know, if the fight went 12 rounds and I was to look at the scorecards, I'm going to ask myself, okay, well, who threw the more cleaner, effective punches? I would say that would probably belong to Cotto, but who would throw the harder, more devastating punches? I would say that would probably belong to Canelo, but who will outthrow who? Now, if it goes to a decision, I got Cotto winning a decision. You know, I don't got Cotto stopping Canelo, but I got Canelo possibly, you know, having a chance to stop Cotto. You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with it? So it's a very intriguing matchup, but even what's more intriguing about it is, you know, even though we don't want to look past Cotto versus Canelo, is what if it's Canelo versus Lemieux? Fight that could be made, or what if it's Canelo versus, you know, so we know that Golden Boy, Top Rank, and we might as well say HBO has been having some issues putting on competitive matchups at a high frequency. Now, PBC, they may not be putting on competitive matchups, but they're putting on a lot of matchups in a high frequency to the point where we're getting so much boxing that we haven't had in, you know, I can't even remember the last time in my lifetime that we had this much boxing. So at first we were hearing that Golovkin wasn't going to be fighting Lemieux because Golden Boy had came out with some statements saying that Lemieux would have to fight a mandatory. The IBF came out and said, no, we don't have nothing to do with that. If Golovkin wants to fight Lemieux, they can fight Lemieux. I mean, he can fight Lemieux. And also the WBC and the IBF are somewhat in cahoots. Now, here's the thing. You know Cotto signed this new Rock Nation deal. Andre Ward is also with Rock Nation. I'm thinking to myself, who would be a good fight for Andre Ward? And the bigger question I guess I have is, will Andre Ward be fighting at 168 where he currently holds the WBA Super World Championship? Carl Franz doesn't have his because he knocked out. Carl Franz doesn't have his WBA World because he knocked out George Groves in front of 80,000 at Wembley. But the question I have is Andre Ward going to be fighting at 175 or 168? That's actually the news right there. And who will he be fighting? And it's actually good publicity and good exposure for him to be on the undercard of Cotto versus Canelo, because that's going to be a mega, like Andre Ward is going to get so much exposure, from that card that he needs. I'm actually glad that he's getting it, but at this point in time, after Paul Smith, a guy like Andre Ward should be fighting a known opponent, right? I mean, if he fights at 168, why not go after, off the Abraham again? No, I mean, when it comes to 168, when you look at the champions, Mayweather Promotions and Rock Nation don't really have a working relationship, so I can't see. Well, fighting Badu Jack would be too soon. Fighting George Groves, I would love to see Andre Ward versus James DeGale, but James DeGale is now an Al Heyman fighter. So I guess we're going to have to see how this plays out. But as more news comes out, I will be doing a video to let you guys know. I am T-Street Controversy with RealCombatMedia.com, and I cover every single major fight live. Cotto versus Canelo in November on the undercard where he's supposed to be, from what I'm hearing. We're supposed to have Andre Ward. We'll see how that plays out. This is T-Street Controversy. This is T-Street Controversy Live.